this segment is definitely brought to you and powered by them because they thought this was definitely a topic worth bringing up the same way that we think it is. Mm-hmm. Checking on your friend, especially as black men.
Yes.
Checking on your mandem. Checking on the people that you're close to as men, man to man.
Yeah.
Something we don't really do, and if we do it in a roundabout way typically. Mm-hmm. Is this something that you have incorporated in the way that you move? If so, when? What was it? Like, how do you move about that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something like I'm more conscious about now. I think especially during the pandemic in the past couple of years. But I mentioned this week. Like, this week's kind of been trying, not just for me. Like, I've had my brethren reach out to me and just be like, just a quick message, be like, yo, you good? Like, you know? I'll say it, like, you know, be transparent with everyone. But, like, this past week, celebrated, like, I don't know if you celebrated, but, you know, you recognize it, and it's been 14 years since my mom passed away. And, you know, every year I go through it, and it's different emotions, and I never really know how I'm going to feel, like, when I wake up that morning, you know? Some days I'm okay, or some years I'm good, and other years it's, like, it's harder than, you know, than others. But it was just, one of my brethren reached out to me, he's like, hey, are you good? You know, like, how are you feeling, type of thing. And I don't know if we've ever done that before, you know? Like,
with this
friend, and just even with my boys, like, I don't know if that's something we went out of our way to do a couple years ago.
I don't think anybody would.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like, unless you tell me about it or bring it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you know, we shy away. I don't know if we shy away from it. We just didn't think of it or whatever. Yeah. It's like, nah, if he doesn't bring it up, I'm not bringing it up.
Or he's cool.
Exactly, right? But I think we're trying to do, like, at least within my circle, we're trying to do a better job of just, especially as black men, just talking about, like, what we're going through, like, our traumas and, you know, the goods, the highs, and the lows, you know what I mean? Just talking about it all and just checking in and having those checks, like, yo, like, I'm here for you. Like,
so this is, I bring this whole conversation up. I didn't expect it to be where you were on the receiving end. So being on the receiving end, what is, like, how do you receive it? Do you take it and be like, because I know it's different to even have anybody say that, and you're saying specific people, it's different for them to reach out in that way.
Yeah.
Like, how receptive are you to that kind of, are you good? Because I think that might be something that a reason why some people might be shying away from even saying anything to people.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I tried to be as receptive as I could, you know, because it was also, I decided to work that day and I'm in the middle of stuff as well. So I didn't want to start a whole conversation knowing that I wouldn't be able to actually have the conversation, right? But I definitely reached out and said, yo, like, thank you. I really appreciate you reaching out. Yeah. And you know what? Because he also disclosed that he's also going through some stuff. So I was like, you know what? Now is not the time, but I will call you and we'll have an actual conversation, you know? So I really think it's, like, on us to reach out, but it's also on us to receive and make it known, like, if this is the right time for us to have a conversation or if it's, like, something you've got to take later on as well.
I think it's just about figuring out whenever it is. Like, opening up the floor.
100%.
And we talked about this mainly, I think, in 2020 when the world was very fucking dark, especially as a black man. And so that was definitely very topical at the time. And that's when we were having all kinds of people aside from just our homies. And it was just like, you know, that white coworker that all of a sudden was feeling guilty and now they're reaching out to you. So it was a very different thing. But I feel like you take that kind of energy, that kind of, like, realization, and kind of just carry that forward with your day-to-day life. I feel like that, to me, I felt like that was, like, light bulb. Got to check on everybody.
100%. Check on 100%. Everybody. And, like, I think it's even forcing yourself to go out of your way to do it, too, because it might not be natural for you to do that. You know, I feel like, and I think about the way I am with my boys, and, like, you know, we share mutual friends, so it's like we just joke around a lot with each other, and that's when we have conversations.
It's a lot of deflecting.
It's a lot of deflecting when, like, there's actual hurt or pain or just conversations that need to be had that aren't had, and it's just we deflect with our laughter, with the jokes, with the memes, whatever. But it's like, nah, let's have a moment just to pause and just, like,
even if you go away from, like, the tough conversations as far as, like, how we're doing. Yeah. Tough conversations when it comes to being like, yo, bro, I think you fucked up. Or, like, like I think it's just hard to have any of those conversations with your boys, or it's just like it builds up to a certain point before you even address things like that.
Yeah, I've been there, man. I don't know if you've had those instances, but I've definitely had a situation where it's like built up with one of my homies for too long, where we just like we were at odds. And when I really sat back and thought about it, I'm like, why are we even beefing? Like, what's the real issue here? You know what I mean? And it's just stuff that like little things that should have been brought up that were never brought up because, I might have felt disrespected by something, or he might have felt a certain way about the way something was handled, and we never really addressed it until the point where it like, it started bubbling up, and then it was a whole thing. It's like we just got to get better at communicating. I think at the end of the day.
I think like just with all the stuff and that we deal with and see and we're exposed to today, like we're like as a human race, we're way more connected than we ever were, and I think that has something to play in how we feel every single day. Like me knowing about what happened in Texas with all the kids over there, or what happened in Buffalo, or what happened anywhere. Like, and we're seeing like real stories. It's not even just like the headlines. Then I'm also seeing like I literally have seen the posts of the kids of people that have passed away and the loved ones, and like that's kind of, it's crazy how connected we are. I can literally reach out to somebody who's related to or whatever, who's dealing with loss in one of these mass shootings, and say, yo, my condolences. That's how connected we are.
It's wild.
So I think just even aside from doing all of that or talking about how connected we are, I feel like dealing with all of these instances and knowing about all these different tragedies and how tough things are for all types of people. I was talking about like just how do you know you're consuming too much?
And that's what I was gonna say is like
when do you turn it off?
Brought that up. But when do you turn it off?
The balance between ignorance and informed.
Yeah, and is it like just turning it off doesn't mean that you don't care, And I think that's where it's like, how do you find that balance and having other people respect that, just knowing that, it's just a lot for me right now. But that doesn't mean I don't care about what's happening with you or within the world, but just for my mental peace, it's a lot, And I find like that's a struggle. Like, how do you know?
So I think you just be very honest about it. I think last night there was we were just scrolling on Netflix, and it was like some like comedy. No, it wasn't a comedy actually. It was a cop movie. Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena. I can't remember. End of watch. And I was like, oh babe, look at this movie. It was really good. I remember it was shot really well. Blah blah blah. Coco straight up was like, I don't know. This is not for me.
Right.
It being around police, LAPD at that.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah.
And I think people just like having these conversations and recognizing the trauma versus like, I feel like in my younger years bulldozing through it was what was the norm.
Yep. It's weird how like art or like media will do that to you. Because a lot of times, like, that will happen to us with, like, Ashley and I with shows. You know what I mean? I'll be ready to watch, like, hours of just, like, the darkest shows. And then she'll be my check to be like, you know what? I need something light. Like, I need Abbott Elementary. Cleanser. I need something like that. You know what I mean?
Start Abbott Elementary. Yes,
bro.
We do.
Yeah.
I know.
It's usually the other way around. I will watch something dark, and I will binge it.
Yeah.
And Shaquille will come in and be like, we need to watch something funny.
Yeah.
And then I'll realize, like, why are the lights all of a sudden off? Like, why am I like sad?
Yeah.
You get so engrossed in what's happening, and obviously we have a fucking heart and a soul, so we care.
Yeah.
Right? So then you just keep, and then he'll come in and be like, so about Abbott Elementary. But you need it because you will become like too engrossed. To where now it's the only thing on your brain, it's the only thing you're thinking about, and now it's becoming the only thing you're attracting and like putting out in the world.
Yeah. And I found myself there this week, just with all the violence that was happening, and then I'm seeing stuff in Scarborough that's happening with like there's carjackings and shootings, and like I just kept diving into it and like just watching CP24 on repeat, and it's the same news every half an hour, and like I had a moment where I'm like, okay, I need to step away. Like this is a lot, And now it was like it got to a point where like that's all I could think about. Like I was telling Ashley, I'm like, I'm not even worried about like this monkeypox thing that's out there. I'm thinking about like, am I gonna get carjacked on my way out somewhere.
The best decision, non-decision that I ever made was that I would just get my news from Twitter. And that means I do follow the CP24s and shit like that of the world, but I get it and I just keep going.
Fair.
Versus like sitting there and consuming a whole news cycle, which I think, based on what we've seen the past couple of years, is nothing that you really want to see.
Yeah.
The only time I really catch any part of the news cycle is when I'm like looking for the weather or whatever. Then it'll just be on for a little bit. But I feel like you got to be careful with how long you spend on the news. Like that's a real thing to just be watching too much news.
Yeah, legit. So like, yeah, you just gotta be mindful of the content. And like for me, it's like I was finding my escape in like Instagram and like social media, but then all that stuff trickled, right? So it's like now I'm like, nah, let's just get outside, go for the walks, you know what I mean, or just talk to people about other things that are not, not the dark stuff that's happening.
Yeah. I think, I like, so just to go back to how we started this whole conversation, I think as men, just be conscious of it. Check on your homies. They say something, they're feeling something. Yeah. It's not, you're not prying by inquiring about it.
Nah.
And if you're feeling away, definitely don't feel like you can't say shit to your friends.
Yeah.
And if we're friends, please say some shit to me.
Honestly.
I'll listen too.
Let us know. Let us know what's going on.